going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Saturday, time to go over the news from the last week. As always, I'm recording this Friday at noon, so anything that happens after that point, we'll talk about in the upcoming videos. First up, Arizona Cardinals. Nothing major happened. We pretty much know exactly what to expect from this team. Not necessarily the exact production from each player, but we know the roles each players are going to be in. Only thing we're keeping an eye on right now is Trey Benson. Is he the clear-cut backup? If James Conner went down, is he a featured running back? Still kind of don't know yet. There's coach speak kind of going in each direction. But again, main takeaway from the backfield is more James Conner's the guy. Benson's not going to be pushing that role unless there's an injury. But if he got hurt right now, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be a feature, but I think he still deserves to be in that general range of like the Algiers of the world, the Ray Davises of the world, where there's a good chance he would be. Next up, Atlanta Falcons. Mooney is still week to week, so no update there, but it's not a downgrade, right? Still week to week, still going to be early in the season when he returns. And Drake London has been an absolute stud in camp. I'm pretty locked in on Drake London being the first wide receiver after those first round talents. So once you get after the range of like Nico, Amon-Ra, Brian Thomas Jr., where I think, again, I've said a lot of times, I think there's like a top 14 players. I do think right after that, first wide receiver is Drake London. Just looks absolutely incredible. Looks like he's going to break out this season. Looks like he's being like hyper focused on for Michael Penix Jr. It seems like there's going to be a huge target share. And that makes sense, right? Mooney's missing some time. Pitts, we know, isn't going to command huge target share. And what do they have after that? Obviously, Bijan can't have 200 targets in a season. So Drake London's set up for an absolutely crazy season. Also, for those of you drafting on Underdog right now, if we flip back to Mooney, he's fallen to pick like 93, 94 by ADP. I've seen him go towards pick 100. You're looking at like the 8, 9 turn in that general range. I'm good with him there. Again, once you get that late for Mooney, and even a redraft league, once he's like not a starter for your team, it's not as much of a concern that he might miss early in the season because you weren't playing him anyways. And when he does return, we know the role is locked in. They don't have a third receiver we're scared about. So again, I don't know his status for week 1, but I don't think it matters that much given his current ADP. He's still a pretty solid pick. One that probably doesn't have a ton of upside because London is so locked in, but someone that's pretty safe. It's unlikely you draft Mooney this season and you're like cutting him because he's terrible. In Baltimore, truly nothing. There's no update on Isaiah Likely. They had the preseason game. I guess one thing from the preseason game is Keaton Mitchell looks good. It's only a couple carries. You can't really tell that much from it, but he looks good. He looks healthy. He looks explosive. Again, worth noting, Derrick Henry didn't play. Justice Hill didn't play. So yes, he was like a starter there, but we know that he's third. And at least this kind of guarantees he's third. I kind of mentioned, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago that was up for debate. The coaches were saying like he's still fighting for that third job. I think he's locked it in. So I think he's locked in third running back. I do think at this point, because I was drafting him like a ton of times in round 18. I kind of stopped doing that for a while. I think if you want to Underdog round 18, redraft league, handcuff Derrick Henry with him, I think both are totally fine. Very last pick, he's going to be there because if Derrick Henry got hurt, it does at this point seem like he'd have a decent amount of value. But obviously, I think everyone should know if Derrick Henry doesn't get hurt, he's not going to do anything. So he's a pure handcuff. In Buffalo, we do have some updates. So they think Shakir's going to be good to go in week 1. Odds are you probably wouldn't start him. So like, even if he played in week 1, he'd probably be limited in snaps. You'd probably want to see him go out there and finish a game healthy. So I don't think it's hugely relevant. I docked his projection a little bit because it's not great starting the season with a high ankle sprain. You, of course, increase the chance that you re-injure that. And I also had some concerns just being like, I was pretty high on Shakir to start the off season, but the more I thought about it, the more it's like the profile of player isn't all that appearing. He's probably their most important wide receiver, and he might be the best wide receiver in the team. But in terms of fantasy production, fantasy ceiling, pretty unlikely that every week you're like, love that Shakir is my wide receiver 2. Pretty low chance that ends up happening. Almost a 0% chance he's a true difference maker. So remember we talk about, that there's like 10 to 15 players every season. They're true difference makers. They're the reason you make playoffs, the reason you win the championship. Almost a 0% chance that Shakir is one of those players. And when I think about Keon Coleman, he does have that upside. I didn't like him last season because I thought they were going to throw him in the next role. We knew that as a rookie, it was unlikely he could separate because he didn't do it in college. And that came true and had a really bad season. But it seems like he's developed. So if you look at reports out of camp, it hasn't been that like Shakir is the greatest player ever. It's been that Keon Coleman is getting open a little bit more, that he's making great contested catches, that he's being featured in the red zone, that he's like, looks like a really good wide receiver. Again, he'll never be AJ Brown. He'll never be Malik Neighbors. He's never going to be these players that can just absolutely destroy you in man coverage and just get wide open and are also highly athletic. Like, that's not in his range of outcomes at any point in his career, I don't think, but definitely not this season. But he is still developing, and he's probably the player you want to invest in more, and he comes at a way cheaper ADP. So, like, if I was choosing between Shakir a little earlier and waiting like 2 rounds and going after Keon Coleman, I would much rather go after Keon Coleman because I think he's just got a little bit more of that ceiling. But of course, again, the lower floor, but I think at that point in the draft, I'm willing to do that. So, yeah, that's basically kind of the update there. Again, the reports have been very positive about Keon Coleman, but it's tough to know until we kind of see it happen. But he goes late enough in drafts where, you know, you can kind of afford to not need production from him early on. I would say the only other thing is like James Cook still not having any sort of deal. Every day that keeps going on, that James Cook doesn't sign, it's more of a concern, and it does bump up your appeal for Ray Davis. Again, I maintain it's pretty likely he will sign a deal, but until that actually happens, we don't really know. But when he was out there in camp before he decided not to practice anymore, he did look good. Panthers camp, Tet looks like a stud. He's someone that I think in week 1, so we kind of talk about these rookies sometimes. People ask questions a lot of times like, how many is too many for rookies? Because we know rookies, especially wide receiver, break out in the second half of the year. So I still think that Tet, is going to have a much stronger, second half breakout, right? I think he's going to be someone that in the second half of the season, you're throwing in there every time, hopefully at wide receiver 2, and he's just crushing. But I also think for Tet, for Martin Hampton, those are 2 that I feel pretty good about their like week 1 role to where I think you can start them right away. So that's a positive for Tet, and that because you have to draft him relatively early, I still think like he looks so good in camp. He's so locked in as their number 1 wide receiver that you will be able to trust him in your starting lineup. And you might not even have to draft him at 2. Maybe you can draft him as that wide receiver 3 flex spot. That would obviously be a lot nicer. I think, again, you're going to start him right away. And then Jalen Coker, he's been looking good in camp. I think that like secondary role is up for debate. So like obviously Tet's the 1, Tet's the X. It seems like Thielen, it seems like Hunter Renfrow are kind of fighting for like the slot role. And then you've got the other role, the other outside wide receiver being between Coker, being Leggett. Odds are, again, you're probably not using any of them. Like Thielen's a million years old. Hunter Renfrow just doesn't have any sort of upside on this offense. Leggett might be rotating with Coker. I don't think that anyone's going to be like a clear number 2 behind Tet McMillan. So I think it's like, Tet's the guy. Chuba's going to be the number 1. And again, I have my concerns on Chuba. Chuba's going to be number 1. Maybe Jadeveon Sanders in a super deep league. But for the most part, Tet is the most appealing player on this offense. He's the only one I'd be like targeting heavily in drafts. In Chicago, still need to keep an eye on the running backs in the preseason, but I'm definitely excited to see how this plays out. The Bears play on Sunday, so obviously we haven't seen that yet. Ben Johnson's been keeping things very tight to the vest as far as usage. Right now, it seems like DeAndre Swift's the lead back. It seems like he's going to definitely be the guy on passing downs, definitely the guy in the 2 and the 4-minute offense. Then Roshan seems to be operating as the goal line back, but not doing too much else. That would be really annoying if they do like a 3 running back committee, and because Kyle Monangai right now is kind of like change of pace between 20s. So it'd be super annoying if they have Swift as the pure passing down back and getting some carries, kind of mixing in with Monangai, and then Roshan just comes in to steal touchdowns. Like that would be a really gross situation where like almost none of them would be anyone that we trust. The hope is they kind of break it off into a 2 running back committee, but that's what we'll look in the preseason. If in the preseason, Monangai goes out there and he looks awesome and he's breaking off long runs, he's being consistent, he looks really good, and maybe we think that he could win like the number 2 job and kind of kick Roshan out, that would be fantastic and would really elevate his value, but we don't know. Again, I think Roshan has been overhyped in college, overhyped in the NFL. Definitely possible. Again, Monangai wins this job, but it's also possible Monangai goes out there, has like 4 carries for 7 yards, and it's a 3 running back committee, and it's really gross. So we will see. Swift has seen his ADP rise a lot recently, getting to the point where like I don't know how much value is still there. He still goes behind like Harvey, Henderson, Kamara, James Conner, Monty, which he should, but he goes right after that. And so I feel like Swift is entering the range where he's kind of like, I don't think he's peaked out at what his value can be, because his value could be the clear 1 on this team. The offense could be great and he can be awesome. But I think like given the entirety of the range of outcomes, he's getting a little bit expensive to the point where like I'm not super pumped to be drafting him anymore. Whereas like he was going kind of like a round later earlier in the year. So again, we'll see. But watch Manungai in the preseason. I think that's the one that I'm most excited about. And then Loveland looks awesome. Like I'm probably going to add Loveland to the must draft players list because he looks fantastic. I think he's going to have an awesome season this year. On Cincinnati, where we have really nothing new. They played in the preseason. They looked good, but obviously, like Jamar Chase looks good. That's not really a shock. We saw Chase Brown. Again, he got a lot of increase in value when Zach Moss was cut. We like Chase Brown now. And it looked like in the preseason that P. Ryan stepped in and he got like 3rd and long. So that seems like, again, that's why they brought him in. That's why they kept him. So we kind of knew this was going to happen. When they get to 3rd and long during the season, it's probably going to be Chase Brown off the field and P. Ryan onto the field. That's not a death sentence. That's not really that bad for Chase Brown because he's still going to have a ton of early down work, still going to have receptions again. That occurred and he still had like 3 receptions in the preseason game. So Chase Brown's a great pick. Late round 2, keep drafting him there. But also, if you want the handcuff, it is not P. Ryan, it's Taj Brooks. So Taj Brooks seems like he's won the job as number 3. Samaje Perine's role will always stay the same. Maybe he gets like 5% more workload if Chase Brown got injured, but if you are taking Chase Brown and you want a handcuff, it is Taj Brooks. And if you just want an upside play later, it's Taj Brooks. It is not Samaje Perine. In Browns camp, I think it is interesting that Tillman and Jeudy were the only 2 wide receivers to be rested or going to be rested in this first preseason game. If you had any doubts that it was like, oh, maybe Deontay Johnson is kind of elevating, maybe he's going to overtake them as a 1 and 2, those doubts can be laid to rest. Like the number 1 and number 2 in some order, we still kind of don't know yet, but probably order of Jeudy, Tillman. They're the clear top 2 and everyone else is fighting for 3. Kind of excited to see the quarterbacks play in the preseason, but you've got injuries, right? Like I don't think Gabriel or Pickett are going to play in the first week. It seems like Shadur Sanders is going to play, but who knows? Hopefully throughout the preseason, one of them can look half competent and we'll see. But given everyone's ADPs, Jeudy, Tillman, and Njoku, I think they're honestly being drafted in a good range because like their ADPs are basically assuming the quarterback play is going to be bad. And so if someone breaks out, nice, you get some value. If no one does, well, you weren't exactly spending a ton of draft capital on any of them. So I think all are decent picks, but we'll see. Other small news is with Judkins. I'm hoping we get some more news soon. So basically his attorney waived his right to a speedy trial. So that means a number of different things, but basically the trial can be pushed to 2026. And some people have been like, nice, because we've seen that happen before, and that means they could sign him now and play him. But what it also means is because of what the allegations are, Goodell can just put him on the commissioner's exempt list and he could just miss the whole season. Like that is now in the range of outcomes. So now in the range of outcomes is trials 2026, Judkins like straight up doesn't sign or signs on the exempt list and just does not play in 2025. That could occur. What could also be the case here is that sometimes lawyers will do that because they want the prosecution to get a little bit more time to investigate if they think it'll be dismissed. So if they think that like if the prosecution just had like a little bit more time, they would dismiss the case. That would obviously be very good news for Judkins, and there'd be a chance that either like he doesn't get suspended or he gets suspended for like 2 or 3 games for just like Goodell just wanting to do that. Again, he doesn't need to be prosecuted for anything for Goodell to suspend him. So it opens the door for no suspension and year-long or longer. Like all of this is in the range of outcomes. So brutal, not the news we want. We want something concrete. We just want to know what's going to happen here. Range of outcomes is crazy. It comes down to your risk tolerance. It comes down to what you need at that point in the draft. He's been falling to rounds like 13, 14, 15. That starts to get to the point where you're like, listen, if you even missed half the season, you might take that in round 15. So again, I don't know if we're going to get any more news, but if you feel set on your team and you're like, I don't even know who to draft here and I hate all the running backs and Judkins is there, it's not a terrible pick to make, but understand that you could get news that he's just like straight up not going to play this season and you can't really be frustrated with that because you know it's in the range of outcomes. In Dallas, another running back room we want to watch. A little bit scary. So on Thursday, Jaden Blue goes down with an injury. He gets carted off. Again, the card is used liberally in camp. Whenever someone has any sort of minor thing, they cart him off. Seems like he avoided anything bad. It's a bone bruise. He might even play in the preseason. I doubt that's going to happen. Like I would be pretty shocked if he actually played this week in the preseason. But maybe next week he goes out there and plays again. If it was like a high ankle sprain, I mean, it would have been really bad because he's a rookie vying for snaps. If you miss camp, that's just really bad for you. So unfortunate. Probably not going to play this week, but hopefully again next week. But we'll see. Maybe they play Javonte Williams. Maybe they play Miles Sanders in the preseason. We can see them play. It'd be nice to know who the starting back is here. But again, I think Javonte is being overdrafted. I think that he's probably more likely to win the job than Jaden Blue, and probably more likely than Miles Sanders. But ADP is suggesting that it's super likely Javonte does, which makes no sense. It's very close between him and Sanders. If you had to pick one between the two, it would be Sanders going undrafted, not Javonte, closer to pick I don't even know, 115 right now. But again, I still like Jaden Blue more. In Denver, they're trying to derail the RJ Harvey hype train, these beat reporters. I'm having absolutely none of that. I would still be drafting him. I welcome any negative report with open arms from RJ Harvey, just in the hopes that his ADP will drop, because he's still pretty expensive in drafts. I would love it if his ADP was one round later, because sometimes he still kind of goes in this range where there's really good wide receivers, really good running backs, and I just would rather him be one round later, grab those guys, and then also get Harvey. So I'm hoping his ADP keeps dropping. I did see his ADP's dropped probably one spot in the past 3 days. So hopefully that can keep going. Basically, the reports are Dobbins is more experienced in pass protection. We knew that kind of going in, that Harvey was fine, but not amazing, and that Dobbins was probably going to win that role. And so if Dobbins gets some early down, gets passing down, people are like, well, that doesn't open the door as much for Harvey. Remember, some of these beat reporters are not fantasy experts, right? They don't understand kind of why, the thesis for why you would be going after Harvey. It is not that in weeks 1 through 4 he's going to be a top 5 running back. It is that Dobbins has a huge injury history, and if you remove Dobbins, Harvey has crazy upside. We know that there's going to be a ton of total targets, so even if you're not getting third down, there will be targets to running backs on first and second down. And we know that Harvey, athletically and as a running back, has a ton of upside. And if he actually hits, this is a system where in the second half of the year, he could be a top 10 running back, and that is what can win you a championship. So the thesis is all still there. I do not view Harvey again in that same tier as Martin Hampton in terms of Hampton week 1. I'd be fine in the starting lineups. I don't know that I'd trust Harvey in a starting lineup in week 1, so know that when you're drafting. But you win championships in December, not September. And come December, I think Harvey is going to have a much larger role. He's going to be someone you wish you had drafted when it comes to December. So again, I don't know that we're putting my starting lineups in week 1, but I still want to be drafting Harvey, and I'm really hoping his ADP drops. Other news is that Troy Franklin is having a great camp. So horrible reports last camp. Last offseason, they were just bagging on him so hard. They were just so mean to Troy Franklin. But apparently, and then he obviously had a bad season, so we saw it play out. Apparently, he's been great. He's developed a lot in the offseason. It makes me a little bit worried because it's you have Mims, you have Franklin, you have Pat Bryant, you have Vele, and they're all relatively decent. They're all talented wide receivers. It's probably just going to be a huge rotation behind Courtland Sutton. And if that happens, none of them have value. In Underdog, if you felt like drafting one of them at a discount as part of a stack, sure, for the spiked week upside. But especially for most of you playing redraft leagues, there's no reason to draft any of those guys at this point. I was hoping that Pat Bryant would break out, but with Franklin having a good camp, with Vele having a good camp, with Mims being kind of stuck in his role as that deep threat, it kind of limits the doors when you also have Ingram. You have Sutton kind of in their established roles as well. So for the most part, I would not be going after these secondary wide receivers this season, really even on Underdog as well at this point, unless their ADPs drop by a lot. In Detroit, nothing new. We know who their top playmakers are on offense. We're not expecting to learn anything unless there's an injury. There's just nothing to report right now. Packers camp. Up next, Matthew Golden looks awesome. Every single day, there's new reports that he looks great at route running. His hands are great. He's getting open. These are things that we're not able to say about the wide receivers in the past. We like Jaden Reed, but they refuse to use Jaden Reed in 2 wide receiver sets, and that craters his value. So it's just I wouldn't even go after Jaden Reed in a redraft league. But every day, it's getting open, catching the ball. We wish Wicks could do that. He looks good. He looks like an alpha wide receiver. Again, not someone I would trust in week 1 because I want to see it happen, but you don't have to. He goes late enough where you will not be starting him in week 1. So again, he is the guy to go after. It is Matthew Golden and Tucker Kraft. Those are the 2 pass catchers that I'd be drafting. Obviously, Jacobs for early downs, as well as kind of a third round pick in drafts. The only other news, I guess, is that Marshawn Lloyd, he's rehabbing on the sideline. Seems like he's going to return soon. Again, I want to be very clear that if you want to take him around 18 on Underdog, go for it. You probably don't have to touch him in a redraft league. I wouldn't even handcuff Jacobs with him, but I'm going to go down with the ship because I have so much exposure to him in round 18 that there's just so much upside for me if things go right for there. But again, if I was being someone else and drafting this smartly, I probably would only draft him in round 18 on Underdog. Texans camp, still no update with Mixon, but that's not super surprising. We're not really expecting a huge update. The expectation is that we're not really going to know his status until much later in August because they're resting him. They're ramping him up slowly. They know they have about a month until week 1. There could be anything here from 0 missed games and playing in week 1 to opening on the pup and not coming back until at least week 5. Again, I think both are like equally likely at this point, just given how many unknowns there are surrounding the injury. I have the exact same thoughts as last week, though, just at a better value. Like, I have been doing some drafts this week, right? I kid you not. He's available close to pick 100. Like, he's going like the 8-9 turn, and I'm sorry, but that is absurd. Like, this man is creeping up to like Cam Scadaboo in drafts. I don't care if he was a lock to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. I am drafting Joe Mixon over Cam Scadaboo 100% of the time. So I maintain that ADP is getting out of control. The upside here is getting crazy. Like, at this point, if you locked in 4 missed games, you locked in, you opened on the pup, I would still take him where his current ADP is. Again, on Underdog. In redraft leagues, it doesn't move as much. So my guess is he still probably goes relatively early in redraft leagues, but he is going at the 8-9 turn right now in Underdog. And so if that occurs in your redraft league, you are absolutely smashing draft because even if he misses a month, we know this offense is going to be centered around him. It's going to be a solid ground game. They have a great defense. It's a good team. He's by far their best running back. Like, when healthy, he is like a top 13 or 14 running back in the NFL. To get it that late when he could still play in week 1 is just silly. Like, his ADP is getting silly. In Indy, what do you know? AR's hurt again. He made it, like 4 snaps or something? I don't know. He barely played in the preseason. Got absolutely wrecked on a blitz. Didn't see the guy at all. Dislocates his finger. It's not really that big of an injury. Like, he's day-to-day. He might even play this coming week. But just another thing where it's like the man cannot stay healthy. It would be really nice if he could just put together a couple of healthy games. Because also Daniel Jones did not look good. They kind of talked about, oh, he did some good things in the presser. He did not look good. He wasn't really doing anything on offense. So I guess that's a silver lining for AR. But yeah, he's fine as like around 17, 18 dart throw an Underdog. He's been getting a little expensive Underdog, going in like the 160s. I've not been taking him there. And I'm the ultimate, like, AR has upside. If AR started half the games, I might want to draft him later on Underdog. But he's not in the 160s, around 17 or 18. And in a redraft league, don't be touching him. Other noteworthy news is that Tyler Warren is awesome. Like, he played 100% of the first team snaps. He is going to be out there as many snaps as he can possibly handle as a pass catching tight end. Like, don't worry about him being a rookie. He's going to be awesome this season. It's not like he's going to challenge the top 3, but he looks fantastic. I'd want him in Dynasty. I want him in redraft. Great ADP. And then DJ Giddens seems like the favorite. I mean, it's not locked in, but for a rookie to already in the first preseason game be getting the specific snaps that he did, it seems like Giddens is going to be the 2. So if you wanted to handcuff JT with someone, it's Giddens. And if you wanted like an upside handcuff late, Giddens is a decent one. So again, keep drafting Warren. Giddens looks like the backup you want, again, especially if you drafted JT. Jaguars camp. Travis Hunter looks like a stud. Brian Thomas Jr. looks like a stud. And this offense is going to have a massive weekly ceiling. So again, target Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence in drafts. They all look great. Still not a ton of news from the running back room. As I said before, seems like Bigsby on early downs, Etienne third down change of pace, and Tootin is going to have to earn his role as the season goes on. I still think Tootin's the most talented, but he is not going to have a role in week 1. Realize that, like, it's unlikely he breaks out in weeks 1 or 2, but who knows in the preseason, right? Maybe in the preseason he goes out there and just balls out, but it's probably Tank Bigsby in early downs. But again, don't draft Bigsby too early because he has 8 receptions in 33 career games. That crushes his value in fantasy. And Etienne and Tank are players who might start with more value, but then lose it as the season goes on. We want the opposite. We want people who start with less value and increase it as the season goes on, and that's Tootin at a later ADP, a much later ADP than Etienne. In Kansas City, we actually have some news on the wide receivers. It's just not the news we were hoping for, right? We want the suspension news for Rashee Rice. Don't have that yet, but Hollywood making progress from the ankle injury, but still isn't back yet. I'll be honest, the coaching staff seems really frustrated with him, and I genuinely don't know what his role is going to be this season. Like, especially once they are past the suspension and Rice and Worthy are back and they have Kelsey, it's not like they have a lack of deep threats. And Thornton, for as much as I keep telling people, like, I don't want to be drafting Tyquan Thornton, he's having a great camp. Every day there's more positive reports from him. They don't need Hollywood. So Hollywood's going way too early on Underdog. I would never draft him in a redraft league. I just would not touch Hollywood round this season. You know that Rice is going to be hyper-targeted. You know that Worthy's going to have a role. You know that Kelsey and Noah Fant are going to like combine for that number one tight end. What the heck is this like third receiver even doing like random deep threats? But again, if Tyquan looks really good, I just don't see it. I don't know why Hollywood's going so early in drafts. Next up, we have the Raiders. News is pretty much the same as last week, but I'll say in the preseason game, it kind of confirmed that Dante Thornton is ahead of Beck in like the pecking order. And it kind of seems like Thornton is like their two behind Myers. Like, seems like he's going to be playing a lot of snaps this season. It seems like they really like him, downfield role. So I've probably been a little bit too off of him. But again, it's the same thing. Yes, maybe I've been a little bit too low, but let's be honest. They have Bowers, they have Genty, they have Myers. That is their top three. And this is the Raiders. So this is people fighting for their fourth. And the most likely outcome is, as the season goes on, it's Thornton sometimes, it's Beck sometimes, it's Tucker sometimes. But none of them are going to be guys you want to actually trust. So I still probably would not draft any of them. Chargers up next. And they decided, you know what? Sure, we have Ladd, right? Sure, we have a developing Quentin Johnston. Yes, we spent an early round pick on Trey Harris, a fifth rounder on Kendra Lambert-Smith, who's breaking out in camp. But you know what we need? Another wide receiver. So they go out and they sign Keenan Allen to a 1 year, $8.25 million deal. I don't know what to make of this situation. I'll be honest with you. It's very difficult to rank it because I don't know if their plan is to have 5 active wide receivers. I mean, they will have 5 active wide receivers every week, but I don't know if their plan is to actually rotate through all of them and to have like insurance if people get injured. But like, if that is the case, and Ladd is obviously locked in, you've got like 4 guys rotating. It's on a better offense than some of these other teams. Like, I would rather have the rotation on the Chargers than the Raiders that we just talked about. But unless they end up trading someone, I just don't see it really for these other guys. And Quentin's the only one that can trade, right? You're not trading your rookies. You're not trading Keenan Allen. So obviously Quentin is the only player that's even possible to trade from this wide receiver room. And it's like, I don't see that happening because I don't really know what value you'd have in the trade market. So unless something weird happens or there's an injury, Ladd, I've moved him down into round 3. Keenan, I probably want him in like the double-digit rounds, but I don't know how much, especially because I've already drafted him on like 25% of teams in round 18. So for me to really get more exposure at like pick 140 when I've been taking him at pick 200, I'll just take my pick 200. And in a redraft league, I don't know how much you're really going to trust Keenan Allen. Like, again, I think he's fine if you took him in the last round, but he won't go in the last round anymore. You should have probably loaded up already. I really like Kendra Lambert-Smith, but again, he's their 5th wide receiver at this point. So I don't think you can be taking him in drafts. So I just don't know what to make of the situation. They also have the injury to the left tackle, which I've adjusted the rankings. Honestly, I feel like I went in and I looked at it and I was like, I feel like I was too low in the Chargers before, like their points per game projection. So I didn't move that. I increased their sack rate. I decreased plays a little bit because they're going to get sacked more. The offense isn't going to be as good. I decreased the efficiency of the running backs on early down. So that's the biggest impact I think they'll have is they'll get sacked a little bit at a higher rate and the running backs won't get as much efficiency on early downs. Did that. It didn't change that much. Like, Ladd is still a 3rd round pick. Amari Hampton didn't change. It changed by ADP, but he didn't change by like positional rankings. Still have him ahead of Kyren Williams. And then the rest of the guys are still, again, in that like rotation where we don't really know. So it dropped everyone a little bit, but it didn't tank anyone. I still like Herbert. I still like Ladd and Martin Hampton. But again, I like Ladd less now that they have Keenan Allen. We also got like a semi-image of Najee Harris's eye thanks to a Snapchat video that he took. You can barely see under the visor, but his left eye is like completely shut. Again, I don't know what to make of that. Of course, people are reacting calmly to this information, but this story just gets weirder and weirder every day. It's one of the craziest stories I think we've ever had when trying to figure out what to do with a running back. He's fallen past pick 150 recently. I'll be honest, I'm starting to stockpile Najee Harris past pick 150 because at this point, like if he actually can see, this is way past where he should be valued. At the end of the day, like I love Hampton as much as anyone, but he's not immune to injury. And Najee has at least 284 touches in all 4 seasons of his career. He'd be a top 7 running back if Hampton missed time. And again, maybe he only has one eye, but I'm willing to take on that risk when he's being drafted behind Dylan Sampson, Javonte Williams, Trey Benson. It's not like those guys have like the clearest path in the world to top 10 production. I can at least see it for Najee. Can he see it? I don't know. But yeah, we'll just have to watch this situation and see. But the ADP is a little bit outrageous if he's going past pick 150. Think of the teams you could build. Like imagine if you could take Mixon in round 9, Najee in round 14, and they both end up being fine in week 1. It's risky, of course, for both of them, but it's round 9 and 14. You have so many other picks to carry you until those two produce. In Rams camp, Kyren Williams got the contract extension, which was expected, doesn't change anything. He wasn't holding out. There was never a concern that wouldn't get a deal done, so I've been anticipating this. I've not changed the rankings at all. The bigger news is Stafford. People are freaking out. People are not drafting Stafford. They're pushing Puka back. They're pushing Adams back. I think this is another spot where people are overreacting. They've literally said if there was a week 1 game this week, he would play. So right now he would be playing. They're just being cautious because why not be cautious? It's 4 weeks away from week 1. Stafford does not need training camp. He's 37 years old. He knows what to do in the NFL. Would it be nice if he was 100% healthy? Yes. But honestly, if you gave me the option between 100% healthy Stafford, but now I have to pay full price for all of the players, or Stafford, who's probably going to be fine in week 1, but he has this news, and now we're getting discounts on all the players for probably no reason, I'll take the discount. So I'm still drafting them exactly as before. I will not be changing the rankings unless he suffers a setback, capitalize if their ADPs go down. In Miami, still not much. I don't know. Tyreek makes me nervous at this point. Like, if I knew he was going to play every week, he wasn't going to fall off the deep end, and like, I don't know if Tua stayed healthy. I tried talking earlier, but even if I didn't know that Tua was going to stay healthy, I would smash at his ADP. And round 3, like I think he'd crush it. But it's like, I don't know, the way that the coaching staff talks about him, the way he talks, I'm like, is he going to go off the deep end this season? I really don't know if that's going to happen. So I don't know what to do with that information. Waddle still remains a great target. If something were to happen to Tyreek Hill, like whether it's an injury, whether it's a trade, whether it's him, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there, but Waddle's being drafted in a range where if nothing happens, he's a good pick. And if something happens, he's a league winner. So Waddle's a great pick in drafts right now. And then Waller also should come off the pup in the next week or so. I maintain he's a really solid 3rd tight end and Underdog, especially as part of the Miami stack in a redraft league. If you felt like it, like if you felt like going like Kittle and then no one, and you had a 7 or 8 person bench and you felt like adding Waller on as your last pick, I think that makes sense. But like, I don't want to be drafting like Ferguson, Waller, and like reaching on Waller. There's no reason to do that. On to the Vikings. Kevin O'Collar's reiterated for like the 100th time that it's basically a 50-50 split between Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. We know that, but it's more confirmation. Justin Jefferson's getting closer to returning. We got confirmation that it's only a 3-game suspension for Addison, which is what to expect. So a lot of news, but a lot of news confirming everything we already knew. So none of my outlook on the Vikings changed from last week. In New England, Travion Henderson looks awesome, especially in pass protection, especially in the receiving game. Like, he looks like he's going to be James White if James White was also a highly explosive early down running back. Like, he has a ton of upside this season. He could be a league winner. There's not a lot of like other news out of New England. It seems like they're doing decent, but I mean, he'd be the player I'm probably most excited about in this team. I mean, Drake May. Drake May is probably my favorite quarterback to go after, but behind that, it's like Travion Henderson looks like a really, really good pick in drafts, especially in full PPR leagues. In New Orleans, Devin Neal has a hamstring injury that's going to sideline him multiple weeks. Kind of hurts his chances for winning the number 2 job. You'd assume that now Kendre Miller's the favorite, but I don't know how long that'll last, and I don't know how much it matters. I don't know how much interest I have in the backup running back on a team projected to score the 2nd fewest points in the league. We're also getting continued reports that like the gap between Olave and Shaheed is not that wide. If anything, Shaheed could be, performing a little bit better. Again, I'm still an Olave fan. I still think like I like him as a player, like him as a pick. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit nervous. I still think Shaheed is the better pick given ADPs between the two, and I still think he's also a better pick on Underdog than he is in Redraft, but I would take Shaheed in all formats at this point. In Giants camp, Cam Scattaboo has a hamstring injury. He's already back working on the sideline. I think he's going to return to practice soon. I'm still team Tyron Tracy Jr. over Cam Scadaboo, and I do think that's the right call. Yes, Scadaboo's looked good in the pass catching game in camp, but he's also missed a little bit of time now. We don't know exactly when he's going to be back to full team. But also, if you look at like where they're playing, Tyron Tracy Jr., maybe he's not getting this hype, right, with the receptions, but Tyron Tracy Jr. is with the first team, and Cam Scadaboo's with the second team. So Tracy Jr. is still ahead of him right now. He's still a great running back. I'm not super pumped to draft a Giants running back. Like, I leave most drafts without either of them, but their ADPs are basically identical, and Tracy Jr. is the better pick than Scadaboo. In Jets camp, reports are that the passing offense has not been good. Reports are really bad. The passing offense has been pretty terrible. Fields struggling as a passer. That's not shocking. He's struggled as a passer his entire career. Also, reports are that Braylon Allen, it really does seem like to start the offseason, it was like they like him. He'll have a role. It's continued so much, and it's continued to the point where like even beat reporters are like, yup, he looks like he's going to have a huge role in offense. It's to the point where it's like, it seems like he's going to get consistent touches every week. Not really in the receiving game. That's still going to be Breece Hall. I'm still willing to die on a hill that Breece Hall is a much better running back than Braylon Allen, but if Fields can't throw the ball, it also might not matter. They might be a really bad offense in general. So if these reports don't get any better, I might have to drop Hall from the must-draft players list. Right now, I'm keeping him there because I still like his ADP. Like, still, I think round 4 Breece Hall is still a good pick. But if it does seem like Braylon Allen's going to still have a lot of carries and that Breece Hall is going to kind of split with him there and then have the passing down snaps, it will get to the point eventually where, like, if Justin Fields can't just develop as a passer and look half decent as a passer, the offense might be so bad that it just can't support high-end fantasy production from anyone. In Eagles camp, just like last week, there's nothing. We know exactly how this offense is going to look. We know exactly how, where exactly every single starter should be drafted. They're all solid picks in drafts. I guess the one thing is Shipley seems like the 2. It does seem like Shipley is the 2 over A.J. Dillon, which is also what we expected. In Pittsburgh, no actionable news. The starters are not going to play this week in the preseason. We still don't have any sort of real indication on the split between Warren and Caleb Johnson. I maintain that Caleb Johnson is being overdrafted, that he's not going to have a passing down role, that Warren is going to have that role plus take early downs. And so with Caleb going significantly earlier than Warren, even though Warren kind of has the more valuable role, I think Warren's a better pick than Caleb Johnson. In San Fran, Isaac Guerrero is going to miss a couple weeks with a shoulder injury, and Jordan James is going to miss a couple weeks with a broken finger. So McCaffrey's like the only healthy running back right now they have, at least among the guys that are actually going to get touches. I've said it before. I take him 7th overall, top 6 of Chase, Saquon, Bijan, Jefferson, Lamb, and Gibbs. You can put those 6 into kind of whatever order you want as long as Chase is first. But I think Saquon is 7. Yes, he'd get hurt, but so could every player in the NFL, as you've seen from the backfield so far. He's the only one that is healthy. Other news out of San Fran is that Pearsall looks awesome. I still don't know if Juwan is hurt or holding in, but whether or not Juwan is playing in week 1, Pearsall, I still think is the guy. Like, at this point, even if Juwan's just holding in, he gets the contract, he's there in week 1, he's totally fine. I think Pearsall's the guy this season. I think he's going to be awesome. I would be drafting as much Ricky Pearsall as you can. Seahawks up next. I'll be honest, I'm getting a little excited about Torrey Horton. Narrative all offseason has kind of been like, well, Kupp is the clear number 2 because they don't have a number 3 wide receiver. JSN, Kupp, they're both good picks because they're both locked into so many targets. But Horton has had a really, really good camp. He did well in the first preseason game. He looked really good. I feel like he's in line to win the wide receiver 3 job. And given Kupp's injury history, given the unknowns about how good he is at this point in his career, there might be a path here for Horton to have like production this season. I don't know if he's going to be like a wide receiver 2 in fantasy, but I don't know. He's getting a little bit excited, and no one ever drafts him, even round 18 on Underdog. So in a redraft league, it's probably more a name to keep in mind. You probably don't have to. You probably don't have enough picks in the draft to go after him, but absolutely keep his name in mind, and more so keep it in mind for Kupp. So don't go into draft being like they have no one. If he keeps balling out this summer, they do have someone. It's Horton. And so maybe people are drafting Kupp a little bit too early. Again, I've kind of aired my concerns about Kupp in the Friday video. In Tampa Bay, pretty much the same as last week. Bucky looks awesome. He's a great pick in the tail end of round 2. Egbuka looks awesome. He's a great pick in the middle rounds of drafts. And then Godwin still isn't out there. Still might open on the pup, but we just don't know yet. They were kind of asked that this week, and they're like, yeah, he might, but we don't know. So again, draft Egbuka, draft Bucky this season. In Titans camp, nothing actionable. Cam Ward continues to look good. Hopefully that extends into preseason, but I doubt he's going to play more than like 1, 2, maybe 3 drives each game. He's the locked-in quarterback, right? So it's like you don't want him to go out there and get hurt. You know, I've had a tough time with the Titans because it's like, you know that it's probably going to be split between Pollard and Spears. You know that Ridley is the one. It's like everyone else. Like, what is the value of these secondary wide receivers? Because I feel like if they actually had a wide receiver 2 we could count on, like actually playing, you know, as their clear-cut wide receiver 2, and Cam Ward breaks out, maybe that's a guy we want to be taking in drafts later on. But I just don't know who that's going to be yet. So it'd be nice to figure out their wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 situation in camp. I'll be honest, Ellick has been running some really nice routes in camp. So he's the one I want to watch the most. If Ellick goes out there in the preseason and he looks good, I'm excited about his potential to kind of overtake Tyler Lockett, to kind of be that number 2. And again, if he breaks out, if Cam Ward breaks out, maybe of a sleeper there that no one is talking about. Then finally, we have the Commanders. They will play on Friday night, so I don't know the outcome of that game. You know, not me. But I'm hoping Jacory Krosky-Merritt has, you know, some run, gets a few touches. Maybe he has a good game. But again, I don't know the results of that game. Still no news on Terry McLaurin's contract. Debo continues to look great in camp. He remains a strong value in the middle rounds. Again, I still think they're going to get a deal done with Terry. So I don't think they're going to trade him. I don't think he's going to hold out into the season. It would be crazy if they did not give him a contract. So I will continue to draft him whenever he falls into like the early to mid 4th round on Underdog and the mid to late 4th round in Redraft. That's the range I like him at. He hasn't been going there for a lot of the offseason, but now he is. People are scared, so now is when I draft him. But yeah, biggest news from Washington is I want to figure out how good is Jacory Krosky-Merritt. So that's the latest news from around the league. Of course, a lot's going to happen this weekend with the preseason games. We'll go over all those news, next week's video, also on the Tuesday live stream. So Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll do a live stream. Come to that with any questions you guys have. We'll do 2 drafts as well. Also, if you have a draft coming up, make sure you're signed up on the website. I've got the must draft list up. That will be updated as well soon with some new players. But also, the rankings are always updated for the latest news. So if you're drafting, you want the most accurate information, use those rankings. All right. That'll do it for this one. Thank you all for watching. If you're still here, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. But I'll see you all on Monday for the Mock Draft Monday.